All right. Well, David, thank you so much for bringing in new work. We appreciate you delivering new pieces, and yeah, I want to take a couple of seconds to talk to you about your new pieces
Okay.
and what you've been doing all through the last 30 years here, and I'm excited to talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, first time in the new space, so
thank
congratulations
you.
on that.
Thank you.
Uh, to your point, yeah, I've been showing with the gallery since sometime I think in the 90s,
Yeah, I think so.
back when they were on Cedar Springs.
So that's at least,
I think they had just started.
yeah.
Um, Crazy story about how I even got into the gallery, but they had actually had someone apply, a young woman apply to run the front desk, who by chance had a sheet of my 35 millimeter slides. And at the end of the
Back when
interview,
everything was slides,
they
right?
asked her, and she called me. I had never met her because I put these things in a mail slot down in Deep Ellum. And she said these guys just started a gallery and want to meet you. So I drove down the following week. That's
Very
how it
cool.
started.
So you were applying for galleries in Dallas, and
I was looking
yeah,
because the gallery named Alternate Gallery that I had been with, which was over in Deep Ellum at the time, two people, Tom and Alana McCaslin, they were closing their doors because they were getting ready to start a family. So
okay.
they were living in Deep Ellum
Oh wow,
with the gallery, and they were moving out of that situation. So at that point, I was kind of knocking on doors.
cool. Well, what a great situation for us.
Completely random.
It's a long history that spurred from that, and great work that we have been shown over the years of yours. So
Yeah,
that's a great,
it's been a real good experience. So I'm glad to be in with the next
yeah,
kind of incarnation.
well, great to hear it. So, to your subject matter, you newly interpret old master paintings,
Mhm.
right? Mostly Dutch old masters, but also other kind of
Some
regions,
Italian,
some
yeah,
Italian.
yeah,
Is
mostly
there
European.
mostly European? And is there a certain kind of time frame that you're looking to source from like these old master paintings, or is it really just like anywhere after 1500s, maybe, let's say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. It's typically in the 17th century, but the overriding idea was um, I wanted to go back to an era that was pre-camera and, in a sense, maybe pre-industrial,
Hmm.
so that whatever I was doing with that image from the past, by bringing it into the 20th or 21st century, it in some way has to address or drag along all the technology and change that had happened since that time. So that idea came to me when I was actually in Washington D.C. looking at a 19th century American landscape painting. But the bulb that went off was, here's this beautiful panorama, but there's no way we would even see that landscape the same way today. A, the landscape would have changed. B, we would have satellite imagery. We would have Google Maps. I mean, you would have so many different ways of visualizing this thing. And that was really the main reason when I started to look at the past and
Hmm.
borrowing those references intentionally and dragging them forward. Like the that painting had to stop in the 19th century. I was like, well, so what would it look like if it just got dragged into the
Yeah.
20th and 21st century? So that's the essential question.
Yeah, because you do have these, I call them glitches, that
Mm-hmm.
you put onto your imagery, and I mean they're all painted, they're
Correct.
beautifully crafted pieces. I mean they're, but you bring them into a kind of dissected and glitched up
Yes.
version of these old master paintings, and maybe that's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but a kind of common on to the 21st century with the problems and issues that come along with all this technology and the the newly created, human created
Yeah.
problems that we're facing now. So
When I started with the idea, doing them that way to refer to the technology, they were kind of, I felt like the works were kind of an anomaly. Now it's the same idea several decades later. The idea is the same, but the landscape around it has completely shifted,
mhm,
which makes the idea to me even a more relevant. But it looks different now, not because my paintings have changed, but because the
the
technology
around it
changing the
changed.
society
Yeah.
around us. Yeah. When I started these, I kind of thought, well, I'll kind of tamper with this history. Like, imagine if someone's only reference to this painting was mine, how off that would be. Fast forward to today, you Google anything and you have thousands of these images.
Right.
And this is only a fragment of one. This isn't even the whole thing.
Oh.
And so we're now completely used to seeing the digital image first,
Yeah.
and the skewed version actually is a reality. Like when we're traveling, when I go to Holland and I see the originals, it's mine are so far off and removed
Hmm.
from. I mean, it's clear I'm here's the reference,
Right.
but this is a piece from the 17th century, and there's things in there I'll never see because I'm not from the 17th century.
That's right.
But here it is existing in the 21st century. And there's to me something very interesting in that. So that was kind of the whole impetus. But the like I said, the idea hasn't changed. But in the meantime, when I started these, AI was on the distant horizon,
Yeah.
not readily available.
Right. Not now how it is now. So that's a great
Well, and
example for how the environment changed around your
and this is
pieces,
just
you
the
know.
start. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what that does to the work in comparison to what it
Hmm.
used to do to the work.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you paint on with oils on metal, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm correct. So that's a really kind of unusual
Mm-hmm.
substrate to paint on with oils because you will have to prime the metal and get it ready to work on. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where did that inspiration or like that stylistic kind of
It started
material come
yeah, it
from?
started out of necessity. I worked on canvas. I don't prefer it anymore.
Hmm.
I got to where I didn't like the weave and it flopping around, or if it was again, and it just um, this will sound kind of counterintuitive. It felt old,
Hmm.
which you
That
think I
is
would
very
like.
counterintuitive.
Right, yeah. And so wood at that point, plywood was too heavy. You really get hit on size
Hmm.
and shipment.
Yeah.
So I'm paying for all this weight when I'm really just using this. So one day I pulled into a metal shop and they gave me some free samples and I went home, and it's kind of problematic to work with. It
Hmm.
used to just be on raw metal, and then one day they called me and they're like, "Hey, we have this coated material from a factory.
Wow.
Can you work with it?" So I had them. But the advantage was I could specify the
Yeah.
size, the depth. They're lighter,
Right.
so I'm not paying for that, even though I'm shipping most of these myself. Um, and for the most part, it's strong. It's a heavy. It's the same stuff they use for roofing and for air ducts.
Wow. Okay. So it is
With
construction grade.
absolutely
Right.
with the added benefit of that. Again, I wanted this incongruity of here's a 17th century image that's been put on this industrial material.
Hmm.
So it was another
Right.
reason to
That's
not
another kind of
use very traditional stuff.
right. So that's I see the a big quality of your work is in the color, that how saturated and how
Mm-hmm.
you know beautiful the colors look. I mean, on this piece especially, how these kind of yellows and greens come out. Do you think that the metal is a certain kind of plays a certain kind of role in that with having a smooth surface to
Mm-hmm.
paint on
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
having a very kind of
yeah,
saturated color on top
yeah.
of metal instead of having it in a weave where some of the light gets swallowed. Is that correct or?
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the things I wanted, and one of the things I really liked that I didn't anticipate.
Hmm.
When I was going through school, when I was painting on different materials, I was very concerned, but due to my teachers, was the nature of the surface. And I always tended to prefer to have the paint really sit up on the surface and not get absorbed down into it so
Hmm.
much. And there's nowhere for this to go other than just
Just
out.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you achieve a amazing result in these pieces, and we have 5 new pieces here right now for people to check out. So we're super happy about that, and yeah, I would recommend everybody to come by and check them out. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.